Hello and welcome. My name is Teresa from the blog and YouTube channel freetoflower.com, where I share all about our simple life on our European farm, raising animals, cooking from scratch, and farm living. Today I'm going to share a bit about my motherhood journey, as well as all the things I'm cooking up in the kitchen and what is happening around the homestead. So right now you can see I am picking some dandelions. I love making sourdough bread weekly or even several times a week, but every once in a while I like to spruce it up. And so when I saw all the fields erupt in a beautiful bed of dandelions, I just could not resist. And I tried making sourdough bread with dandelions. Dandelions have a lot of great medicinal properties. They are a great cleansing flower and herb. This goes especially well with spring. I shot this video in late spring and I felt like this was still a great property of the plant that I wanted to harness. And let me tell you, it turned out great. I tested the recipe a number of times and got it just right. It tastes delicious. The dandelions actually add a really nice moist quality to the sourdough bread, and they also make it a little bit more yellow, which is so cute, and I think it's just enhances the spirit of spring. If you would like the recipe to print, or if you want to read it, I'm going to link it in the description box below. You can find it on my blog. It is made with sourdough starter. If you're new to that, I have a bunch of resources about that too. It is just a simple sourdough bread recipe, my staple recipe that I tested over and over and over again, and it comes out perfect every single time. And I tweaked it just a little bit to account for the dandelion flowers. So very simple ingredients, just some flour, water, salt, your sourdough starter, and of course the dandelions. Now look at how beautiful and yellow that dough is. When you're making this recipe, it's really important that you do not include the dandelion greens or any part of them. So that's why I cut off all the yellow petals and then added them to my dough. I allowed it to ferment in my proofing box over here. If you've never seen a proofing box, because I hadn't until about a year ago, it is so practical. Oh my goodness. I can't even begin to tell you how much better my sourdough game got once I bit the bullet and purchased one of those. It is just so practical to be able to control the temperature. It makes sourdough much more predictable than it does otherwise. There are many different ways you can go about making sourdough bread. One of my favorite things is to let it proof in the fridge overnight, which I'm about to do over here. If you've never heard of this before and you have no idea how to do it, or maybe you have heard of it but don't know how to do it, I have a whole article about this up on my blog. I will link it in the description box below. It's actually really simple, and when using the fridge to proof your sourdough, I find that it is actually much more forgivable if you don't get your timing right. And let's be honest, I am a mom, and I'm sure many people watching this have kids too. And things are not always super easy with children around, especially when they are in their little years. And that is something I've been thinking about quite a lot this week, when I've been presented with a lot of different motherhood challenges. My older son, you can see him right here, he is 3, and then I have an 8-month-old baby, another boy, and there are so many delightful moments to being their mom. I love seeing the beginnings of them playing together. I absolutely love to hear my baby laugh, and my toddler is now to the point where he will say really cute things like, oh, here in this video, actually my baby just sat up for the first time by himself, and it was so cute to witness. My toddler says really cute things to me like, I'm your best friend because I love you. But those are moments that are often then followed by other moments that are much more difficult. where I truly sometimes wonder whether this is all going to pay off in some way or another in the end, and whether there will ever be a time when I'm not going to feel this tired and this drained and this overwhelmed. And I think that sometimes people think that because I get a lot of things done around the farm and in my kitchen, that I don't feel this way. But let me tell you, I definitely do. And some weeks are better than others. But here is one thing that has been extremely helpful to me whenever I do feel overwhelmed and like I'm drowning in all the things that are coming my way, including motherhood. So tip number one that helps me so much is to simplify. Make things very simple, and I honestly start with dinners. So here you can see me making a speckled trout baked in the oven recipe. Now this sounds fancy, but it is so simple, and that is one of the reasons why I love it. You just cut up a few basic ingredients, you preheat your oven, and you put the fish in the oven for about 20 minutes, and your meal is done. All you need is a carb and a veg, and you've got a pretty upscale feeling meal ready in no time. My kids actually love fish. I've been feeding it to them ever since they were little, and so this works really well for our family. I have so many other super easy dinner recipes up on my blog. I will link this one down in the description box below as well. This makes all the difference for me, knowing that dinner will be on the table and I don't have to sweat it. Number two, the second really major thing that helps me, and I know people have many different ways of going about this, but for me this works really well, is to have a schedule, a daily rhythm that we follow day in and day out. Now don't get me wrong, we definitely have days when we then go and we intentionally disrupt that schedule, so we go on a trip or an outing or we just do something different. But 80% of the time you will find us doing the same things the same time of day. We wake up at a certain time, we have breakfast at a certain time, everybody takes their naps at a certain time, we take our walks pretty much same, and then of course we also have different windows of time throughout the day when we can do whatever. So here my son wanted to run around, I needed to catch up on a few emails and some texts from friends that have been long overdue in my phone, and so we had a little 45-minute free time session, getting our wiggles out before everybody is going to sleep. Now, having a regular schedule and a rhythm that we follow has also been extremely helpful with the kids' sleep. And let me be the first one to tell you, this is not perfect. When I just had one child, my older son, after we did a very basic, very gentle sleep training, he slept every single night of his life up until a certain point when his brother was born, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hardly ever woke up, was able to get through jet lag this way. This is not as bulletproof anymore, but absolute majority of nights we still sleep all night long, even with two babies. And to me, this creates so much peace in my motherhood and provides the space for me to delight in it a lot more. Just knowing when the kids are going to be sleeping and when I'm going to have some free time or time to finish tasks around the farm. I hope that as time goes on, you will also find ways to delight in motherhood like I have. And maybe those two tips, even though really simple, are going to help you too. If you'd like to keep up with our simple life on our European farm, hit the subscribe button. Till next time.